In this section, we will learn about converting between percent notation and decimal notation, and converting between fraction notation and percent notation. So the first thing we need to understand is, what is a percent? So when you think of a percent, you think of X amount out of 100. So if you have 70 of 100 squares shaded, that's 70 out of 100. That's 70%. You can also write it as a decimal, which is 0.7. So the notation in percent means n per 100. N per 100. So let's talk about how to write a percent as a decimal. So to write a percent as a decimal, you're going to drop the percent sign and move the decimal point 2 places to the left. So in this first example, we have 34%. I'm going to drop off that percent sign. Now you don't see a decimal in this problem, but the decimal is always after the number. So in order to change this to a decimal, converted from a percent to a decimal, I'm going to move it 2 places to the left. So the answer will be 0.34. If I wanted to do 115%, once again, I'll drop the percent sign. My decimal is always at the end. I move it 2 places to the left. So the decimal is 1.15. In this next one, we have 1/4%. So what you have to do is, we're going to change this 1/4. We're going to multiply it out. It's 1 divided by 4, which is 0.25. Okay, so you have 0.25%. To change this to a decimal, even though it's already in decimal form, you still need to move the decimal over. So we're going to drop the percent sign. We're going to move this decimal 2 places to the left. So I need some zeros here as placeholders, in order for me to move the decimal. So I move it over twice. I get 0.0025. So now we're going to talk about how to convert from a decimal to a percent. Here you're going to move the decimal point 2 places to the right and then tack on the percent sign. So here we have 0.24. Oops, sorry about that. I'm going to move the decimal over 2 places to the right. That leaves me with 24, and then I put the percent sign at the end. I do the same thing for the 8.47. I move the decimal 2 places to the right. I get 847%. This next one looks a little tricky. We have 1, but as you can see, we don't have any other numbers with it. So remember, you always have a decimal point after the number, even though you don't see it. And then I'm going to put 0 in as placeholders. So I'm going to take this decimal and move it over 2 places to the right. I get 100%. Lastly, we have 0.675. I'm going to move the decimal over 2 places to the right. That leaves me with 67.5%. So next we're going to talk about how to convert a fraction into a decimal. We're going to use division to find the decimal notation, and then we're going to change that decimal notation to percent. So in this first problem, we have 3/4. That's the same as 3 divided by 4. So when you put this into your calculator, you should get 0.75. That is the decimal notation. Now you need to convert that to a percent. You're going to move your decimal over 2 places to the right. You get 75%. The next one is 5/8. That's 5 divided by 8, which is 0.625. Move the decimal over two places to the right, you get 62.5%. The next one is 3 over 5. That's the same as saying 3 divided by 5. That gives me 0.6. Move the decimal place over twice, you get 60%. So don't forget you need a placeholder there, a 0 for a placeholder, and you'll get 60%. The next one is 9 over 16. You put 9 divided by 16 in your calculator, you get 0.563. Move your decimal over two places to the right, you get 56.3. Now we're going to talk about how to convert a percent to a fraction. First, you're going to write the percent as a ratio and then simplify it if you can. So remember I said percent means per 100. So 60% is 60 out of 100. Okay, so we can go ahead and reduce this. Let's see. It looks like 20 is the largest number that goes into both. The 20s cancel out. I'm left with 3/5. So if your fraction can be reduced, make sure you reduce it. In some cases, it cannot be reduced. For example, 79%, that's 79 out of 100. That stays as is. There's no number that's common in both the 79 and 100 that you can cancel out. The next one is 6%. So that will be 6 out of 100. And then we are going to reduce that. So it looks like 2 is the largest number that goes into both. The 2's cancel out. You're left with 3 over 50. So here's a table that it lists fraction, decimal, and percent equivalents used often. So this may, if you want to refer to this, maybe you have a problem. Perhaps you have a problem that shows up on one of your homeworks or your tests. For example, 3 over 8 is a fraction. You'll see the decimal equivalent right below it, and you'll also see the percent equivalent. So these are the common fractions that you can look for. You can also look for the decimals. You can also look for the percent notation. But these, you may not see these on the homework or test, but if you do, you can refer to this table.